Strawberry Ice doing a victory lap. Oh, oh, you see.
Let's go. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Wake up the beast, every day is a feast. Time to bust it off the leash. In the jungle dripping heat, tigers strike the city streets. East side stand up, west side stand up. If you reppin' who day, time to put your hands up. Bengals stripes, we in it. New day, new age, yeah, we get it. Cincinnati jungle fitted. Who they in our house, we win it. Orange and black and white, we build it. Earn our stripes, you know we kill it. Bleed our colors, jungle dripping. Nasty, natty, yeah, we lit it. Lit the crowd, get the city loud. Yeah, we feasting now. Fit the bounce, make the city howl. Now we beastin' now. Thunder through the tunnel, from the sideline to the huddle. Stripes we tatted on the jungle when we flex that who they muscle on them. Stripes, Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. All day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Stripes. Now who wanna move crossing on? Stripes. Now who wanna move on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em, bingo bottle, never stop it till the beast on feasting on 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen, we gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Now who wanna move crossing on? Now who gonna move on? Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the number 5 ranked University of Cincinnati Bearcats. And, of course, Jackpot Joey Burrow. Now, do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. You guys rock. I'm up to 1,387 subscribers. That is awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Now, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, do me a favor, go to the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, go to the YouTube channel, Sports with Strawberry Ice. Hit the subscription button, hit the bell for the notifications, and every time I go live, you'll be notified. Also, exclusively in the YouTube chat, we're doing super chats. So if you'd like to support what I'm doing, give me a super chat. I would greatly appreciate it. Now I'm being brought to you live from the Ice Cave, and the Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right, guys, if you caught the beginning of the show, I played my Bengals victory lap again, mostly for my guest today, because he actually shouted me out on Twitter and retweeted it of how much he enjoyed it. And coming from this guy, that means an awful lot. He is Bearcat broadcaster Jim Kelly. Jim, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? I'm going to tell you, I love that lap. Love seeing it again. And I know if the Bearcats run short on wide receivers or running backs, where they can find one this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think they need a fat 47 out of shape year old man running around. I was tired by the time I got. If you notice, by the time I got to the other side, I started to run up the hill. I started slowing down a lot. So
yeah, but it was great, and absolutely love the celebration.
So let's get into the reason of the celebration was the victory we had over the Irish on Saturday. And what was that like? You were there, you're broadcasting it. I mean, you played for the Bearcats. You've been there from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to today through all these coaches. What's this mean to you as a Bearcat broadcaster, and what was it like being there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if you have to really kind of think about how it all happened. Mike Bone set up the game with Brian Kelly and the folks at Notre Dame. And that was done about 2.5 years ago. So at that particular point in time, it didn't mean a whole lot other than the fact that somewhere down the road, you were going to have a big game. And the big game at that point would be against the perennial power Notre Dame. And Cincinnati was improving under I guess it would have been the second year of Luke Fickell. And maybe the third year, I think. And they had a pretty good year that year. You're thinking, okay, well, somewhere down the road that this could be a meaningful game. And just going up to Notre Dame, being in that stadium, that venue, on that campus, year in and year out, a pretty good football team who's been in the college football playoffs the last few years. But it was still a ways off. Well, as last year materialized and the Bearcats, found themselves in the Peach Bowl against Georgia after an undefeated season, it was like, okay, this could be a really interesting game next year. And of course, preseason came, and there was talk about Cincinnati getting to the college football playoffs. Well, one of the things that they needed, and there's been a lot written about this, is check a few boxes. One, they had to have a good previous year. Check. To 2020, they went 9-0 and then barely lost to Georgia in the Peach Bowl. And secondly, they had to have a non-conference schedule that would include some pretty good teams. And on the schedule at the beginning of this year were the Indiana Hoosiers and Notre Dame Fighting Irish, of course. So the feeling there was if you could knock off Indiana and then get to Notre Dame, you're going to be getting some national attention. And that's exactly what happened. And it ended up being the perfect storm. The Bearcats did beat Indiana. The trip to Notre Dame, and you mentioned we had a little chance to talk before. You've been up there. You've seen the campus. It's beautiful. I've been to a couple of football games there, and not a Cincinnati game, of course, until this weekend. And the way it worked out, just with, a huge amount of people heading up to South Bend from the Cincinnati area, and the Bearcats playing a very strong football game and winning it, and with the support of the fans, it was just a perfect day. It really was. The weather could have been a little nicer, but it stopped raining about noon in order for the 2:30 game to get going, and ended up being just a great day and a great game. And honestly, I was up there for the weekend, a great weekend. And you can't create things like that. It just happens. And like I said at the beginning, a lot of things fell in place here. The stars aligned, and here we are talking about it after the game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure when Brian Kelly signed this, deal 2 years ago, he's probably like, it'll be easy win. No big deal, because UC, we went to Ohio State, and let's be honest, we've gotten our ass kicked when we went to Ohio State. So I think Brian Kelly's, it'll be an easy win. It was not an easy win. I think it was a dominating performance by UC. I mean, to be honest, if Desmond Ridder doesn't, have the sack fumble, I don't think they score. I think it's a shutout, to be honest.
Yeah, I never once. There can be times in a game when you say, "Wow, they got lucky," right? Never felt in this game that Cincinnati was not the better team, and I mean that by a bunch. I mean, it wasn't total domination by any means. And when the game got to 17-13, of course, everybody started to think, okay, well, if they score again. But I really, honestly, the way that Cincinnati had moved the ball at times in the game, I thought, you know what? All they got to do is go back to the basics. And that's exactly what they did, and they pulled away. And like I said, I never felt Notre Dame was even close to as good as Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'll put it this way. I did get nervous because of just how many times this has happened. And, like the Georgia game, like Jim, it was funny. I went on here and I basically said, after we found out we're playing Georgia in the Peach Bowl, I said, I think we have a chance to win. And oh my God, Georgia fans came after me, which a couple of them still actually like my show and comment every once in a while. But I was just like, I think we have a chance to beat you. I didn't say we were going to. I said we have a chance. That's what I was with Notre Dame. I was more confident going into Notre Dame than I was Georgia. But then the Georgia had to kick a 56-yard field goal to win for a freshman kicker to win it.
Correct.
So I was like every time it's like it always feels like the Bearcats will get this close, you're this close. I'm like, please don't do it again. Like, come on. And then the defense stepped up. Desmond Ridder stepped up. I mean, our defense is phenomenal. I mean, I think we got at least on the team total, probably at least 3 or 4 guys that have a shot of being first-round picks in this year's draft.
Yeah. So a couple of guys solidified their status in that case, in that first round. And, Sauce Gardner's just, I guess I looked at him last year, and of course he had the big pick against UCF 2 years ago and all that. And no question he's good, but all of a sudden I'm watching him this year, and people are, number one, they don't go at him very often. When they do, and you'd think you'd have a tendency to kind of fall asleep or at least, kind of take a play off because nobody's ever coming at you. He has made every play, and he has solidified himself, in my opinion, as a first-round draft choice.
Absolutely.
Myjai Sanders, who I don't believe has a full sack. I think he has a half a sack now. He has a good number of tackle for losses. But he has just created all of the other havoc because they're using 2 and 3 people, 2 linemen, a tight end maybe in a lineman, a tight end, a lineman, and a back to chip on him to keep him away. So he could have gone out last year. He wouldn't have been a first-round draft choice, but he might have been a second or a third. And then you throw Desmond Ridder in there as another guy, and I don't know that he's first round, but he's certainly moving up the ladder pretty quickly. And another guy that I believe, because of what he was able to do in the Notre Dame game, is Alec Pierce. I mean, he number one, everybody knew that he had a great vertical leap. He's a tall guy. He's got 4.5 speed. But what he was able to do at Notre Dame, 2 of those catches in particular that he high pointed, he went up against not necessarily All-American, but guys that are guys that also are going to be in the league.
Right.
And he just dominated.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're all first-round draft choices, but after that performance, those 4 guys, and there's probably others. I mean, I think Jerome Ford's an NFL prospect.
Yep.
He needs to get it on track a little bit, but that's not necessarily his doing. It's the play calling, and they want to run. I think they want to run a little bit more this week. And secondly, offensive line certainly is a big thing for a running back in order to make you successful. And not that their offensive line is bad. I thought they've done a good job, but I think you're going to see Cincinnati try to run the ball more this week against Temple. But I saw those guys have great games against Notre Dame, and they had great games earlier in the season too. And some of them have solidified their their spot in the NFL draft, or at least moved up the ladder again.
Absolutely. Now, I want to confirm a story, and hopefully you can confirm it for me, of Sauce Gardner being a freshman and wanting to be called Sauce. And from what I understand, he said somebody told me he's got to earn that or something like that. And then by the end of I think the first practice or something like that, they're like, oh yeah, we're calling you Sauce now, or something like that. Have you heard that story?
Yes. So the nickname did not come from anything here in Cincinnati, which everybody seems to think it had something to do with Montgomery Inn or Skyline or whatever.
Chili, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. He got the nickname in high school. I don't even remember at this particular point in time why he got it, but he did want to be called. He wanted it as part of his name, and that's exactly what happened. The senior said, "Oh, hold on there, freshman. Just like you got to earn the C-Paul on the side of your helmet, right. You got to earn the right to use a nickname like that." And right away, he showed that he was going to fit in, and they said, "Okay, you can use the word Sauce." And he does from time to time. He still calls himself a mod as well. But, he's going to be known as Sauce Gardner, that's for sure.
Well, I'm hoping he's known as Sauce Gardner, a Cincinnati Bengal.
We'll see about that. But clearly, and you saw the Notre Dame quarterback's comments, and he didn't name him by name, but he, in the post-game news conference after the Notre Dame game, he said, "Yeah, that corner is pretty good." So,
I just love it. I mean, there's been games where this year where teams haven't even thrown his way. I mean, during the game, Luke put him on the tight end, the Myers from Northern Kentucky. He put him on a tight end, and that tight end's got at least 100 pounds on him, and he's pretty much shut him down.
Yeah, I mean, at least 65 pounds, 265 to 195, 200. Yeah. Not only that, Ty Freifogel in Indiana, he caught 13 passes against Ohio State last year. How many did he get on Sauce Gardner? 1 for 13 yards, and it was Cincinnati had jumped off sides. Yeah, and it was kind of one of those free plays that you have as a quarterback, and kind of one of those things where they took the catch over the penalty because it was 13 yards versus 5. Right. But he had 2 passes this past week, caught him. So it was 3 passes in in 4 games. And what did I read somewhere yesterday or the day before? 600 passes or 600 plays for him and not giving up 1 touchdown. So
that's in his career.
His career. His career. Right.
That's now I know people are going to be like, well, you're in the American Athletic Conference. What's that mean? I don't care what conference you're in. If you haven't given up a touchdown your whole college career so far, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, well, there's a guy coming in this weekend from Temple. His name's Jaden Blue. He caught 95 passes in 2019. So he's going to be matched up a lot on the boundary side against Sauce. So we'll see how he does against people that, and I don't think people are afraid to throw against him. Part of it is the position he plays in the short side of the field. But at the same time, there's no doubt about it that they do stay away from him, and they'd rather go to the wide side of the field where you've got more lanes and more space to throw. And not to mention you've got, safeties that are covering people and not necessarily a shutdown corner. Right. And, on the other side, Kobe Bryant's not bad himself. He's going to get a shot in the NFL as well.
This is I mean, honestly, this is probably I'm not saying probably. This is the most talented UC football team ever. I mean, it is. We're going to have multiple draft picks. We're going to have at least 2 or 3, I think, first-round picks. So this is definitely the most talented UC team ever. So my question is, how we were there for the high of the Brian Kelly era, going to the Sugar Bowl and going to the Orange Bowl. How this to me seems different. It seems more solid, something that isn't just going to be here for a couple years. Even if Luke, which hopefully Luke won't leave, even if Luke leaves, I think it's something that's sustainable, especially with us moving into the Big 12.
Yes, I think you're 100% right. You look at that first year, 4-8. Luke was in, the stuff, the players he inherited from Tommy Tuberville and a few that he was able to bring in that could play right away. The talent level was equal to when Brian Kelly, I won't say that. I think Brian inherited more from Mark D'Antonio than Luke inherited from Tommy Tuberville. I know that for a fact.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that completely.
No doubt about it. But the formula was different. Luke decided, okay, I might go 4-8 year 1. I don't know what's going to happen in year 2. We'll be better, but we're okay building this slowly from the base. And, we're going to bring in high school kids that we like, good character, get them in here. We're going to develop them along the way. If we can get a 4-star along the way, great. But we're happy with 2 and 3 stars, which is what they had those first 3 years. Their first 4-star was Evan Prater, of course, from Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And now I think what you're going to see, well, first of all, those 2 and 3 stars that we saw on the field this past week at Notre Dame were honestly better football players than most of the Notre Dame players. Right. Yeah, Notre Dame has a few guys that are really, really good and going to be great NFL players as well. But overall, the talent we're on that field advantage Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And that goes to the coaching. That goes credit to the coaching staff at Cincinnati. Brian Kelly's starting with 4 and 5 stars, and now all of a sudden the Cincinnati 2 and 3 stars are better than those 4 and 5 stars. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, what can you do when you bring in 3, 4, and 5-star players to Cincinnati and you develop them the same way? And that's where I think we're going. And to your comment about this being different and being long-lasting, I think that's where we are. And yes, you're right. Hopefully Luke Fickell does stay. And if he does, he's going to be able to continue to develop that talent. With the Big 12 looming a year or 2 down the road, all of a sudden those doors are going to start opening for those 5 stars, or at least those 4 stars. And not that they're doing a horrible job at recruiting right now, because they're not. They're doing a great job. They're doing it with the best resources they can, and they're making it work. And what it's only going to be enhanced, as we saw in basketball already, by them getting a commitment from a 4-star.
Yep.
Because of the Big 12, it's going to open some doors for him. And there's no indication to me that Luke Fickell's leaving. Yeah, there's a few jobs out there if they would open up that, we're going to have to worry about.
I don't think USC is one of them. I just can't.
I don't believe so either.
I just can't. I don't know. They say because Boone's out there, but I just can't see Luke. Luke's an Ohio guy. I can't see him. His recruiting base is around here. I mean, it's not. He doesn't go out to California. So I might be wrong, but I hope I'm not. I mean, the jobs that will scare me, that obviously Ohio State. If that ever opens up, I think he's gone, and I think
Sure.
Notre Dame is another one too. I think
I
those
agree.
two. Other than that, he might stay here for a while. He's already turned down Michigan State, so
Right.
that's
right.
one down.
Yeah. I mean, those two are a given, and he's never come out and said that, but he's never also denied it. But,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Those are solid jobs right now for the two folks that are there, Ryan Day and Brian Kelly. But, who knows?
Yeah.
You might get tired of the BS from the fan base and say, I'm going to try the NFL. And Brian Kelly pops to the NFL, or Ryan Day goes to the NFL, and one of those jobs opens. And there's probably a few others. I don't know, Penn State.
Yeah.
Things like, so
It'd be one of the ones that are closer to this area would have a better shot.
More of I won't call it a Midwestern program, but it's got the blue collar mentality that Luke has as well. So I'm not going to worry about that right now.
No. We're having too much
He's
fun.
given no indication that he's making good money here. He likes the way this is going. They've already made commitments to do some of the enhancement and improvements in the facilities. They're getting a new locker room. They're getting an indoor practice facility. I don't see any reason for him to go anywhere right now. He likes what's going on here. And if you look around the country, there's a handful of jobs where guys like Luke Fickell have had opportunities to move on. Right. And all of a sudden you blink your eye and they're in their 12th year, 13th year.
And they like it.
Patterson down at TCU, places like that,
Well, and the thing is, too, with us moving to the Big 12, the opportunity to win a national title, to get into the pro football or the college football playoffs will be there.
That's correct.
I don't know how you feel about this. I mean, I think if UC goes and wins out, they should get into the college football playoffs, but I just don't think they'll let us in. I still don't. I think it's too much of the Power Five. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, and maybe it's I'm preparing myself for that. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah. So, I think you got to look at it this way. Georgia and Alabama are givens, regardless of what they do when they play each other, maybe twice. They're both really, really good football teams.
Absolutely.
What I think a key component there is what happens in the Big Ten. You got 4 teams right now playing lights out football, and that is Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State. I won't say lights out, and then Michigan, of course. Ohio State showed some vulnerability early, lost to Oregon, and has played a couple of other games. But I think Ohio State's a team that the more they play, the better they're going to get.
Right.
And Iowa and Penn State play this weekend, so one of the two of them is going to lose. However, it's early enough in the year, like Ohio State, you can lose a game, and that isn't going to kill you.
Yeah.
You play the rest of the year, lights out, or you play well, you're going to find yourself at number 3, whether you're Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, or Iowa.
Right.
So we'll see where that goes. That 4th spot right now that I believe Oklahoma has, or not right now, it's the 2 Big Ten. Well, they haven't done the college football playoffs, but in the polls,
right.
I think it's Iowa and Penn State right now. But you think about that, one of those is probably going to disappear. It could be Ohio State moving up, but then you got Oklahoma, and they've struggled a little bit, and somebody else could certainly move up into that. What would be fighting Cincinnati for that 4th spot. And who knows, with the Big Ten, maybe they beat each other up so bad, none of them get to number 3. They all got a couple of losses, yet to be determined.
Yeah.
And I think there's enough focus right now on a group of 5 team that is really good getting in.
Right.
I don't think they get screwed out of it. But I also don't think that people are going to magically just put them in because, hey, this is the highest ranked group of 5 team we've ever had. I think they're going to still struggle to get in, even if they go even if they go 13-0, and that winning the conference championship game.
Yeah, that's where I think is, and I know Luke doesn't like this part, but this is where I think we Bearcats have to destroy everybody. I mean, if you get up by 2 touchdowns, you need to get up by 4 touchdowns. We need to keep adding on, going, look, we are this much better than everybody in the conference. And that, to me, if they do that, then I think they have a better, obviously they have a better chance of getting in. I hate that about college football, but it is what it is. I mean, if we go in there and we're coming off like I said, this Friday night I think could be a trap game, to be honest, because we're coming off the high of Notre Dame. It is a short week. It's Friday night instead of Saturday. So, it is something that I'm hoping that the Bearcats come in and they're ready to go, and we just blow the doors off Temple, because Temple, basketball and football, they always seem to play us tough for some reason.
Well, I would agree with you there. Temple's they're no slouch, and they beat a good Memphis team. They were down 17-0 in the second quarter and came back and won that game this past week. And I honestly, I agree with you on the short weeks. It's usually not a good thing, but in this case, I think after the Notre Dame high, the fact that they have to turn around and start practicing right away again, they don't get as much time to sit and say, "Woo, aren't we great?"
Right.
They go right back at it. So I think they're going to be ready to play. I'll tell you the thing that I think is going to be the biggest for them is Nip at Night. And it's sold out. And I can tell you, when I say sold out, there's been a lot of other sold out games where I can go down to the ticket offices and say, "Hey, can I get 4 tickets? I'm good with 2 here and 2 here." Right. I went to the ticket office trying to get 6 tickets, and they go, "Jim, we don't have any."
It's sold. 0. It's sold out. It's out.
Exactly. Now, that being said, it's Parents' Weekend. So a lot of parents were coming in and bought those tickets in advance. The Temple game's been sold out for a while, but right now, I mean, there is nothing. You can go on to secondary markets and get it, of course.
Right.
That being said, I think it's going to be a rocking atmosphere. And I hate to say this, but it might be the only night game at Nippert this year. You don't know that I'm down the road, but the UCF game time has been announced, and it's going to be a noon game. Which, if you think about the last time UCF was here, that was a magic night as well.
Yes, so it was.
I think
I was at that game.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the rise of Sauce Gardner.
Yep.
But that being said, I think they'll be ready to play. I really do. But Temple, you're right, gives them fits. They won the last game. I want to say 16-13, 15-13. It was
something like that. Yeah,
dogfight. Yeah, they didn't play them last year.
Yeah.
Cincinnati had COVID issues 1 week, and then Temple never got back into their schedule. They they gave up after 6 games. They just had so many issues with COVID. So crazy year last year.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad that we are back to normal, somewhat normal, and Nip at Night. And you and me were talking about this before the show started. I've said this on my show. I think Nip at Night is one of the best college venues around. I'm not saying it's better than anybody else's. It is up there. It's got to be top 10 at least as far as environments go. With, like I said, the stadium is in the middle of the campus. It's in the hole. They've been playing football there for 100 years. The sound just hovers around. It doesn't get out of there. It's close. It's awesome. I love Nip at Night.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the stadium itself is just the fact that it is in the heart of the campus. It's right there. You're close. Your sight lines are great no matter where you're sitting. And then when you get to the nighttime, I'm trying to think of other ones I've seen maybe on TV that really kind of stand out to me. LSU is one at night that just I think is a little more special than during the day. Clemson, it just looks pretty special at night. And now those are bigger stadiums.
Yeah.
There's something about the intimacy of Nippert that's just absolutely unbelievable. And I got to give credit to the students.
The Ruckus, they're unbelievable.
Yeah, the Ruckus, they are absolutely unbelievable, and they make a difference. The band is phenomenal at Nippert.
The running down the stairs, that to me, that is one of the coolest things. I don't know how we've seen them fall, but most of the time they don't fall. And I'm like, I can't wait for that. I want to get into the stadium, and when I hear the trumpets, I'm like, let's go. That just fires me up and see them flying down the hill or down the steps. It is so cool.
Yeah, I think the only thing they need is a guy with a big Bearcat flag to lead them down the steps there.
Yeah,
In full
yeah.
speed.
That'll be the guy that'll fall down the stairs.
Yeah, we don't want to do that, Dev.
All right, let's get into Desmond Ridder here.
Yep.
And he is a dark horse for the Heisman. And he's proven he can win in a big game versus Notre Dame. Granted, he got off to his usual slow start, like he always does. But once he's on, he's on. What do you think he's going to at least get invited to New York, or where do you think he's at on that?
Yeah, there's way too many games to speculate on that. What he is, you hit on it right away. He's 34-4 as a starter. That is like pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He's the winningest quarterback in all of college football right now. Not in history, but
right now. Yeah.
Current players.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. But his stats are, I won't say underwhelming, because the number one stat he has is he's 4-0.
Right.
But
winning.
If you're looking at, okay, you want somebody that throws for, 360 yards a game, or, runs the ball for 180 yards at the quarterback spot or a tailback. That's not him, but he makes plays. And you're right. There are times when it looks like he gets off to a slow start, or that he's maybe struggling a little bit. And I don't know that that's always the case. I will say this, they've seen enough of him that they know how to take things away from him. And, if you look at what defenses are doing this year, that RPO that they ran so successfully last year, that he would run the ball on and or throw the ball to, in most cases, Josh Wiley or sometimes Lenny Taylor. Right. They've taken that play away. All four teams they've played have taken that play away. So, but the fact of the matter is, he's a winner. He's a, no doubt people have seen him on TV or have seen interviews with him. He's a great guy, a great father, great, just a great guy.
Right.
I hope that we get that chance. That would be really neat to see him up there with,
awesome.
Three other guys at the end of the year. And winning can do that for you. His stats, were not bad at all this week.
No.
19 out of 31 for 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran for another one. So that's not horrible, but they're looking for those guys. I shouldn't say they're looking for it, but they want, the guys, the rattlers that throw for 300 and, from Oklahoma, that throw for 350 yards a game. But you also look at Dylan Gabriel, who unfortunately at UCF, who got hurt. Early in the year, his name was in there because he was throwing for 360, 380 yards a game. But then again, he's getting picked off 2-3 times a game.
Right.
So it really comes down to doing what you do best, moving the football, keeping your drives alive, and scoring touchdowns and winning football games. And it's hard to argue that Des Ridder doesn't do any of those things.
It started in his first game he took over, the UCLA game.
Yeah.
First game.
He was asked that question yesterday at a press conference. Do you remember, can you believe how far you've come since that first drive when you took over at UCLA? And he said, it's funny, that play sticks in my mind. I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous as heck. I went back. I was a zone read. I got cold cocked and lost 4 yards on the play. So his first ever play, he pulled the ball out, went to run around the end. Somebody was there, took him down for a 4-yard gain.
Right.
And, he hasn't looked back since, but he remembers it well. And he just has grown since then. He really has.
Absolutely.
He's grown every year. And he really looks poised out there. And that's the key. Some of those passes, a couple that I mentioned earlier that he threw to Pierce, 2 that he threw to Taylor, he just hung in there and put him right in the right spot. That one to Taylor, the last one in the last drive, that was, 30-some, 40-some yards. Can't remember exactly. He puts too much air under that. The safety knocks it down or picks it off. He puts too little air under it. Taylor has to come back and go up for a contested ball. So he just threw it absolutely beautifully.
Yeah, he had, like I said, after a shaky start, he got going, and once he's on, and I don't know. Again, it's a long shot. I hope he at least gets invited. That would be cool. Well, let's get to your background as far as UC goes. Now, me, I started watching UC football when I was little. Was really nothing. Nobody really cared about it as kind of an afterthought. I mean, the first games I went to at Nipper, Tim Murphy, who is the Harvard head coach. He left UC to go to Harvard. He's still their head coach. That's who was the head coach there, and there was barely anybody at Nipper. And I know you played for the team in the 70s. You've been broadcasting for 36 years now. Is that
31?
31 years. Okay. So how did you get to the University of Cincinnati and then broadcasting and all that stuff? How did all that stuff come about?
Well, so yeah, I'm born and raised here, born on the West Side.
I knew I liked you. Yeah.
Well, you might not after this next comment.
You left.
Well, I moved. Yeah, my dad was became the head football coach at Deer Park High School.
Okay.
So we moved to the east. We moved to Deer Park, Dillonvale area in 1953 when I was 1, and grew up in that area. Moved eventually to Blue Ash. Went to Muller High School.
Big Mo.
Yeah. Played for Jerry Faust.
He's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, he did okay. He did okay. At least as a high school coach.
Right.
The folks at Notre Dame, they still love him, though, even though he didn't have a great career there as far as wins and losses. But good man, no doubt about it. And anyway, ended up having a successful high school career. Was recruited by a lot of different schools. Chose Cincinnati for a lot of reasons. One, they wanted to throw the football, which was important to me, being a receiver. Secondly, my dad was on the staff there, so I kind of had the at least the idea, and a lot of the guys now that you see in the recruiting is saying hometown heroes. It was like you can stay home and go to your in city school and still feel like you're away at college, and that's exactly the way it felt to me. Mm-hmm. I was 16 miles away from home, but always felt like I was away. Never had to feel like I was at home. And we. My freshman year, we had the coaches did a great job of recruiting the city, ton of all city kids, and we had the makings of a really, really good team with a whole lot of local flavor on it, and ended up going 2-9 that year. And the head coach got fired. The new head coach came in, who's a guy by the name of Tony May. That coach was a guy by the name of Ray Callahan. Ray had been at Kentucky and a few other places in the South, and then Tony Mason became the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator. Right before that at Purdue, had been the defensive coordinator at Michigan as well, and had a different mentality. Was more of a typical Michigan coach back in the 70s. The Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes type, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Right. So we ran the ball a lot. I blocked a lot. I still led the team in receptions 3 years in a row, in 73, 74, and 75. So had a good career, and went on. And while I was there, I was in the CCM broadcasting school. But like a typical 20-year-old, I got to that point and said, I don't think I want to do that, and switched into a business major, and just kind of left broadcasting as an afterthought. Well, in 1988, Greg Cook, I believe, was the analyst and was giving it up at that point in time. And I threw my name in a hat, went down, did an audition, got the job. Stayed 88 through 91. You mentioned the Tim Murphy years. Tim Murphy was the coach in 91 when I left. Mm-hmm. And I chose to leave because, number one, the Bearcats were struggling. All those things that you mentioned about nobody in the stands. Mm-hmm. There was an 81-0 loss at Penn State. My partner at that point was a guy named Paul Keels, who's the voice of the Buckeyes right now. Mm-hmm. Paul and I looked at each other and we just shook our heads. And it was like, after that year, I decided, I had 4 little kids at home playing soccer and football and a wife running around trying to get them all to their games. And I said, it's just not worth it. So I left for a few years, and then Greg Cook again had come back, and in 95 he decided he didn't want to do it anymore. I was able to get the job then back I've stayed since 95 through the current years. So I worked for initially the first year but head coach was Dave Curry, then Tim Murphy, then Rick Minner for a lot of years. Then Mark D'Antonio, Brian Kelly, Butch Jones, Tommy Tuberville, and now Luke Fickle.
There you go. I got a question here from a Crypt Keeper in the chat. He says, Mr. Kelly, did you get to watch Greg Cook play at UC?
Yeah, so huge advantage. My dad was on the staff and was calling the plays then. He was the receiver coach. At ages 13 and 14, I was the ball boy. So
cool.
I stood on the sideline and got to see Greg Cook play.
Oh, that's
other
good.
ball boy with me. And this goes way back in Crypt Crypt Keeper might not remember this game, or I don't know his age, obviously.
I don't either.
Yeah, Jim O'Brien in 1968 kicked a 40-some-yard field goal to beat Miami 23-21 at Nippert. And at that time, this is a great story. At that time, all the games were played at Nippert every year for the Miami-Cincinnati game. But you traded off game balls. Instead of going to Oxford to Cincinnati, all you did was trade the game balls.
Really?
And this was Miami's year for the game ball. And when O'Brien kicked that field goal, the other ball boy, a guy by the name of Larry Peterson, caught the ball and ran into the locker room to hide it and keep it with the Miami managers chasing him. So great story. And then the next year, the Cincinnati game ball when Miami won was ripped out of our hands. So by the Miami guys. So we're
taking this one.
They got even. But so I did get to see Greg Cook play. I saw that Miami game where he just threw for just a ton of yards. There was another game. It was with Ohio University at Nippert. Their quarterback was a guy by the name of Cleve Bryant, who for a short time, I believe, was their head coach up in Athens as well. But Greg Cook threw for 400-some yards, and Cleve Bryant threw for 400-some yards.
Wow.
Fantastic game. So I did get to see Greg Cook play. And then, of course, followed him when he was with the Bengals. And actually, as I moved on and then was out of high school, when Greg hurt his shoulder and got surgery and was trying to make a comeback after, being with the Bengals, we would work out on campus, those of us that were local, the UC players,
right.
And Greg would come down and throw with us. So I actually got to catch Greg Cook a while too.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool right there.
It was neat.
That's neat. Of
course, I knew him pretty well because of my dad.
Right.
So, and he would call from time to time and say, "Hey, you want to go down and catch some passes?" Yep, sure. Right
absolutely.
Yeah. So, yep.
So I noticed you got some cool UC football helmets behind you there, and you got some. Actually, you got one that Greg Cook wore. Did you?
I do. I don't have this one up on the wall, but and it put my number on the back. How about that? So, So this is I think 66 through 68, and I've got a couple of other ones here that I don't have on the wall. This is the one prior to that, and you can see how they just get a little bit more sophisticated all the time.
Right.
I mean, you've seen what they are today. You just never know. So, way back to the early to the mid to late 60s, and then
I love that first one. That one's really cool.
Yeah, it is. And then beyond that, this is the one we used in the 70s when I played. The difference between this one and the one over my left shoulder is this one has a black inside the UC, and the one up on the wall has white inside. And then last but not least, I don't remember exactly if this is late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, I remember that's the 80s. I remember that one.
Yeah, 80s.
80s. Yeah, I think they even had that like in the beginning of the 90s. I think Tim Murphy. I think
it might have been the 90s.
They didn't have the C because they got the C Paul. My freshman year was 94, and that's when the I can't think of his name now. Who's the coach that started it after Tim Murphy? Why can't I think of his name now?
Rick Minner.
Thank you. Yeah. I have brain cramps from every once in a while. That's the year he started. I think that's right around when they stared doing the C-Paul. Maybe it was a couple years before that.
No, it's definitely Rick Minner. So they had the straight up C-Paul, which is let me pull this one down. Yeah, this is from
there you go. Yep.
Straight up C-Paul before they did the kind of the curly one. So
right.
Yeah. At one point, I was going to try to get every helmet, and hang on. And they just change them so often anymore, I can't keep up.
Right. Casey Lockett says he needs all that. He needs all your helmets.
Okay. Well, yeah. So yeah, Casey, come on over. I got a lot of other stuff down here you'd like as well.
Oh, I'm sure you got a lot of stuff. I would love to see some of the other things you have from just UC history. I think it's
I have. Cool. I do. I've got a lot of neat things. I've I don't know what I got. Literally hundreds and hundreds of signs from radio booths and press passes and bowl stuff and programs. I got a lot. So
that is
awesome. I've been very fortunate. Yeah,
that is very, very cool. Now get to the radio booth. What is it like working with Dan Horton? I think Dan Horton is one of, if not the best, play-by-play guy around as far as college football, and he also does the Bengals. And his call at the end of that game was unbelievable. And you're buying when he's doing this stuff. does he have it written down, or does it just come off the top of his head, or what?
Yeah. So he swears it comes off the top of his head, but that end of the Notre Dame game, somehow I don't know that I don't believe him.
That was perfect.
So I knew once the game was in hand that he was going to have something. So he certainly had some time to think about it. Mm-hmm. The 2 kneel downs, and probably a little bit before that, you figured he had it. We had the game won. And I decided, okay, as big as a game as this was, and I've been known to do some screaming and yelling in the booth. But
yeah, I've heard you. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, this game was in hand, and knowing that he was going to have a classic ending close, I decided, okay, I'm not saying a word. So I took my headset up and pushed it over the top of my head. So even if I said something, it wouldn't be very audible. And he just killed it. Like he always does. So most of the time you don't know. Like, for example, if a touchdown happens real quick, he can't have a chance to plan that.
Right.
It's coming off the top of his head. In this case, he had a few plays to come up with the UC, which
did you see that?
So great. Oh my God. Yeah, and even in the beginning of the game, the reference to the green and the red and the Christmas present.
Yes.
I mean, where does he come up with this stuff?
The funny thing is because we were beginning of the game, I try to get the TV synced up with the radio because I'd much rather listen to you guys, but it was just getting so hard. And so I heard the beginning of it, and I didn't hear Dan's your guys' call till afterwards, which I was too busy screaming and running around my neighborhood anyway.
Trying to catch your breath.
Yeah, exactly.
After your lap.
Yes, after my lap. I was trying to catch my breath. That is the truth, too. I was tired. But when I heard that, I don't know, that later on that night or the next, whenever I heard it, I'm not kidding. I would get goosebumps. I mean, it was electric. And the cool thing, and I think it's also because of how much I'll put it this way, how much winning that game meant to me as a Bearcat fan. It was awesome. And hearing Dan Horton sum it up like that was just great.
See, but your emotions were shared with, I don't even know how many, 15,000, 20,000 people, the ones at the game plus others back in Cincinnati watching it on TV or listening on the radio. I can't tell you. And if you heard what I said after I gave him, 10 seconds or so after his call, I just said, unbelievable. And then I said, I can't say anything right now. And it's because I was breaking up. I was crying.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people have said the same thing to me. I had, people that have come up to me and said, look, I couldn't talk. I had tears rolling out my eyes. Mike Denbrock was crying. The offensive coordinator. It was magic. I mean, it really is. And I don't know. You cannot recreate things like this. I've had it happen, obviously. The Pittsburgh game back in 2000.
I was there. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's been other games as well.
Where's that? Right there. Pike to Benz. I got the bobblehead right there.
Yeah. I mean, so it happens. And but at the same time, it meant a lot. And having Dan Horton, those that did hear it, and Dan's, I've had more people ask me for the call for this one than I've ever had to ask. And I promised it to some folks. And talking to Dan last night at the coaches show, it takes him a while to do some downloading to get it to where it can be put out there to be listened to. And he's in the process of doing that. So those that have asked, or anybody that's on your show, ICE, that wants to listen to it, look for Dan to put it out there. He's going to send it to me as well. So follow me on Twitter or Facebook, and I'll have it out there as well when I get it. So Dan did a great job. And let me talk a little bit more about him because, first of all, he's got a lot of talent, but he does his homework unbelievably. He studies, he spends a lot of time knowing, the Cincinnati side of things. But right now, I guarantee you, he's going to know as much about Temple as he knows about Cincinnati by the time we get to Friday. And lastly, about Dan, in an industry, and we all know somebody that's a sportscaster or a writer or, whatever, is somebody that's in the media, somebody like Strawberry Ice, that and I'm teasing about you, but it's an industry where people can get big heads for because they get themselves on the air.
Right.
Dan is the most down to earth, great person that you would ever want to know. He
Yes.
He'd do anything for you. He just a great guy. Absolute great guy.
I second it. He's unbelievable. He's been on my show. I went down last week to the Holy Grail, and I came up and said hi. I didn't even know if he knew who I was. He said, "Strawberry Ice, Jeff, how you doing?" He knew exactly who I was. Had a great conversation with him. I mean, he's the best. I mean, I can't say I don't even know him personally like you do, but just the little interactions I've had with him. He's awesome and unbelievable. And yeah, you're right. There are people who get in this industry, which I'm not technically in the industry. I mean, I wanted to, never got hired on, so I decided to do this. But yeah, there's people under that they think they're up here and everybody else down here. Yeah. That's not Dan.
That's not everybody. Dan. There's a lot of other really nice people in the industry, but
yeah,
we all know somebody along the way that let it go to their head and
exactly.
Don't you know who I am? Type of thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like me. Don't you know who I am? I'm Strawberry Ice. I mean, come on. Yeah, right.
You're a different story. You're really famous.
Yeah. I'm famous for a fat guy run.
Well, more famous now than you were last week at this time.
That's true. That is true. Well, Jim, I appreciate you coming on. You've been on for almost an hour. I appreciate it. I do know you play. You're a guitarist. I haven't got to that part of you. Are you playing any venues anytime soon?
Yeah. So I've got a few. I unfortunately in the fall it becomes really tough because you might know that you have a game at home on. Let's take the UCF game. You knew early in the year you were playing that game on the 16th of October, right?
Right.
But when they don't assign a time, it's a little hard to commit to play somewhere on a Saturday night when that might be a night game, or even if it's a 3:30 game.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to make it. In this case, it ended up being a noon game, so if I could find some place to play, I could do that. So my point is I cut back a little bit. And I did have one booked for Friday the 15th, but I have a commitment now tying into UC football that I had to back out. But my schedule is at jimkellymusic.com. I've got a couple coming up at I haven't got them all posted yet. I'm Monkey Bar up in Mainville. And
I love that place.
Yeah, MVP up in Silverton. Got a couple of other ones that I haven't got dates firmed on, but come January, February, assuming that COVID stays kind of where it is right now, and bars still have music. I'll be just check there from time to time, and I do put it up on. I have a Facebook music page as well, which is Jim Kelly Acoustic Music. I'll post it on there where I'm playing as well. Right now, just don't have a whole lot of jobs because I don't have time to play them.
Right, you're a little busy, especially with UC football going on, and we're gonna. There's for some reason, I don't know. It just seems like this might align. If the Bearcats do get into college football playoffs, it might be a Georgia Cincinnati repeat.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that would be great.
That would be cool. The Georgia fans that watch me on the show, that they want that. They want a rematch. So I said, me too. Let's see what happens.
I'm telling you what, Georgia's really good.
Oh, they are. Oh, Georgia, Alabama, both really good.
They were really good last year, and
right.
And I haven't seen. The one thing about doing these games is you get to watch a little bit of everybody, but you don't get to sit down and watch a game in its entirety. Or if I do, it's usually when I get home at night and I'm watching UCLA play Arizona State, and it's like, okay, a quarter, and then I fall asleep. But,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
But the Georgia's really good, and if you look at their schedule, I know Kentucky's doing real well right now, and
they beat Florida for the first time since 1986.
And Kentucky's got to play Georgia, and we'll see how that goes. But nothing against the Wildcat fans, but my money's on the Bulldogs right now.
Yeah, me too. I think Georgia's going to get them, but hey, you never know. It's why you play the games.
So we'll see. I mean, it would be great if we got to play them again. Yeah,
I would love it. I would, because I get to go talk smack to Georgia fans again. So I'd have some fun. Well, Jim, I appreciate you coming on the show. We definitely have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely, Jeff.
Anytime you want to come on, hit me up. Let me know, and I appreciate it, man.
Okay, yeah, maybe a little further down the road here in football season.
Sounds good.
All right,
go Bearcats.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I hope you appreciate that as much as I did. That was a lot of fun. Jim Kelly's a great guy. He really liked my victory lap, so that was kind of cool. I got to talk to Jim Kelly, and I've had Dan Horton on. I had Jim Kelly on now. I've had Dave Lapham on. it's pretty cool. I'm thoroughly enjoying being able to do this. And as always, I won't be able to do it unless you guys watch. So I appreciate you guys. So that gets me to my Facebook groups that let me live stream. They are Who Dey Nation, Who Dey Legion, Bearcat Ruckus. I think I'm on all of them today because I had Jim Kelly on. So I'm going to name them all. Bearcat Ruckus, Bearcat Country, Bearcat Nation, Bearcat Land, and Bearcat Fan Page, I think is the other one. And also you got the Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar, Cincinnati Reds riding third, heading for home. And then you can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Trenopole. TikTok is at Iceman90. I'm over 1,000 on followers on all those except TikTok. So if you guys like TikTok and silly videos, check me out on TikTok. I'll be pulling the sound off later on tonight. If you missed any of Jim Kelly's interview and you want to check it out tomorrow, you can't sit there and watch me for an hour, go listen to it. I'm on BeanPod, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you download it, like it, rate it, review it, leave a comment so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. YouTube, you guys are awesome. We're rolling. We're at 1,387 subscribers. That is awesome. As always, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Because like I said, I wanted to do this out of college. Didn't get a job. Got a wife, got a family, got a real job. So I'm doing this now. I appreciate you guys subscribing and supporting the show. Thank you very much. And as my boy, Jeremy Dimebag These Nuts likes to say, remember one thing and one thing only. And that is, you don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati. So act like it. Who Dey? I can't wait till Friday night. Nip at night is going to be fun. The Bengals are going to take on the Packers. Seems like everybody's healthy. This could be good. Another good weekend for UC. Like I said, Cincinnati versus everybody. And that's just sports, baby. See ya! Bye, Irish!
Woo!
Let's go. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast disawake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who Dey, we ignite and Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black is like who Dey when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Wake up the beast, every day is a feast. Time to bust it off the leash. In the jungle dripping heat, tigers strike the city streets. East side stand up, west side stand up. If you reppin' who Dey, time to put your hands up. Bingo stripes, we in it. New day, new age, yeah, we get it. Cincinnati jungle fitted. Who Dey in our house, we win it. Orange and black and white, we build it. Earn our stripes, you know we kill it. Bleed our colors, jungle dripping. Nasty, natty, yeah, we lit it. Lit the crowd, get the city loud. Yeah, we feasting now. Fit the bounce, make the city howl. Now we beastin' now. Thunder through the tunnel, from the sideline to the huddle. Stripes we tatted on the jungle when we flex that who Dey muscle on them. Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. Who Dey when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Now who wanna move dancing on? Now who wanna move on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we fought 'em. Like that black and orange upon 'em, bingo bought 'em, never stopping till the beast and know 'em. Who Dey rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossin' on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen, we gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks